Hi everyone, welcome to 230 Conversations, first ever podcast in 2024. We are so excited to be holding our first ever in this particular area. We've moved from our normal space and now we are into doing podcasts. I've got the people here, the team that we work with. Here is Uput Uzweli. Actually, I think that's what most people know him as. We've got Assistant Tavi saying here, my name is Umtandazo Kolani, and we have Melissa, aka Mrs. Nkosi, or the only person married amongst us, right? And why we're talking about this is because today's topic is quite interesting. We are starting off on speaking about issues to do with love in the church, aka Umjolo, right? That's what we're going to be having. Love in the church, that's what we're going to talk about. Now to begin with, I was thinking about the genesis of all of this, and Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, where God says, after he had created the world and everything, says it is not good for man to be alone. Prior to all of this, when he was creating, everything else was, it is good. It was the third day. It is good. It was the fourth day. Then the first time we hear the phrase, it is not good, is when we find out in the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, it is not good for man to be alone. So then are we speaking from the perspective then to say, being loved and loving is a godly principle. It's something that's embedded scripturally. Yeah. Or are we saying it's a human need outside scripture? I don't know what you guys think about, but the kind of thing. But we're speaking on the topic, love in the church. What are we talking about? What do you think about when you come to this part, eh?
Human need, God need, whatever you view it, love is important. You must love, you must be loved. If you are not loved, well, maybe if you're not loving, then there's a problem. Love is nice, but let's not be personal. but I think love is a beautiful thing, guys. So forget about even in the setup, Yom Jolo, just to be loved in general, even by a family member. It's actually nicer in a Jolo setup. You know, I'm a big proponent Yom Jolo, and people must job. Yeah. Some of the stresses that we have, some of the frustrations that we have is because we don't have partners, man. So some of the challenges that if you'll see these things will just disappear. But yeah, I think from be it a human need. So if people that are not Christians desire to be loved.
Yes, that's true.
People that are not Christians love.
Right.
And then you find the same as well, even within the church. The only difference is that when we speak about it now, I mean, what brings us together is that we all believe in God. We are all Seventh-day Adventists. So we'll look at it from the point of view of what does God have to say about it. But it is definitely a need.
But it's a very important thing then to love. So I think we should pursue the issues of being loved and loving quite seriously. Right?
Yeah, I think it's not even a matter of we should pursue. I think it's inbuilt. The fact that we're made in the image of God and God is love. There's a wiring, an innate wiring in all of us, So when we are not in it, there is a longing for it. So to pursue it is not to say it's just something you're trying to get and you have an option. It's because there's a longing that propels you to that point. So it's not necessarily to say, should we pursue, should we not? It's a thing of there is a longing inside of us already that is going to, if it's not sought out, we're going to have imbalance in us. Yeah. And that's why people are depressed, because really it is not good for men to be alone. Because sometimes you do need the words of encouragement. You do need the validation, from outside eyes, because we're often our worst judge of characters. We're often very hard on ourselves. You do need that,
But you know where I'm taking this from? You do hear oftentimes when people say, I don't need anyone. I don't need a man. I don't need a woman. I don't need anyone to be happy. I can be happy all by myself. The whole concept of self-love, it's enough to love myself. I can be full without anybody else, And sometimes that's where it comes in and confuses certain people to say, should we or should we not? Is it possible that anyone can actually be alone and be fine with it? Right?
I think that for me, I actually view it in the same way that we explain how we are all spiritual. We talk about how in each person there is a need and a desire to worship because we are made by God. That is how I view love. God has put it in us. We want to love. We want to be loved in the same way that we want to worship. Whether it's God or it's any other thing. It's the same thing with love. God has put it in us. You want to love and you want to be loved, and you can't go away from that. If you choose any other thing, it's the same thing with people who choose that they don't want God. The hunger is still there.
Yes.
Same thing with love. If you are choosing that you want to be alone, or that is unnatural.
Okay.
That is unnatural.
And also, I feel like, we've all been at a point where we think that we can self-fulfill, where we view ourselves as we content. We can operate as an island. I don't need any third party to make me happy. And often, most of the times, it's not always that it's going to be the case, but most of the times that happens, it's often inspired by a traumatic past. And you've been hurt, you don't want to open up, because to love and to be loved also opens you up to being taken advantage of. The heart is a tender organ. It wants to be pampered, it wants to be taken care of. It's very fragile as well. And it does not want to relive traumatic experiences. So usually when you get that, if we're to have an honest discussion, it's a safeguard that does not help. You're trying to protect yourself from previous experiences. Maybe the conversation that we should be having is, if we agree that all we need is love, and to love is important, it's imperative for me to be loved and to love, then how do you love? How does one love? And how do we avoid, traumatic experiences in the journey of love? Then you'll delve into different things. How do you choose a partner? How do you relate with your partner? And all those type of things. Of course, there's not a closed list that would say this is a perfect way you are not going to be hurt. We know Mjolo, you're going to be hurt. You're going to be hurt in Mjolo, you're going to be hurt in marriage, people are divorcing, people make up and all of those things. But it's a lie that we have to tell ourselves if we have to reach a point where we say, I don't need to be loved and I don't need anybody.
That's a lie. So,
sorry, just to add on that, right? Love in itself is a risk. God himself risked loving human beings.
You can say that again.
He loved human beings who had no guarantee that they would love him back.
Yeah.
He still loves us, and we don't love him back because we don't honor what he says. So in and of itself, love is a risk. So you need to understand that love doesn't exist in a perfect system. Even God himself loves, and it's not reciprocated. So you will be in situations where you will love and it's not reciprocated. But your ability to love and to give love is godly. That's what you should understand. So do not be disappointed by heartbreaks to an extent that you don't open yourself up to love, because love is beautiful and love is godly. And you need to understand that every time you do open that portal, it's a risk, and it's a godly risk. And if it doesn't turn out well, understand that it's flawed human beings trying to navigate a godly path.
It's a godly risk.
It's a godly risk.
It's a flawed human beings trying to navigate a godly path.
Say that again.
Well, guys.
Speaking about this, so you know what? I think what we're saying here is it's to find love, to be in love is godly. It's human as well. Whether Christian or not Christian, whether religiously inclined or not, the need is there. It's as good as the DNA that we have in us. And speaking of that, then one of the earliest love stories that we find in the Bible, the book of Genesis, chapter 24. Isaac and Rebecca. And I want to just think about the freedom of choice that we have, right? That was an arranged marriage. Like the father says to Eliezer the servant, like, go look for a wife for my. How different is it from then to now? Bring back arranged marriages, bring back arranged relationships, and all that. How do we look at it? The whole idea. Where does my part come in as an individual in the choice of a partner? What factors influence all of that, right? So you have the father of Isaac saying to the servant, please go look for a wife for my child, probably from my own tribe. And it's interesting because if you go further again and read the book of Judges where there's Samson coming through, the issue was he wanted to be with Delilah. And the issue from the parents was, can you not find someone here, of our own tribe to marry? Why are you looking at that? This Judges chapter 14 verse 3, and Samson, I love this, his reply is like, she pleased with me well. I like her, all right?
So I think that choice remains with us. That's my honest opinion. Choice remains with us. But when you exercise your choice, the question is it aligned with your purpose?
Okay.
And that's where it becomes very, very key. Because at the end of the day, I mean, within the greater scheme of things, when you consider the great controversy, there's only two sides to this story.
Okay.
And the question is, when you're exercising your choice, it's who am I giving over my willingness to? Who am I allowing to dictate, what my purpose is going to look like at the end of the day? So you look at someone who is in a Christian setup. You still have a choice. I mean, Samson he still went and was with Delilah. It affected his purpose to a certain extent. And even us, I mean, you look at young people in the postmodern era, we have the choice. We have the choice to make decisions that will align with our purpose. Some, they make choices that they live with they appreciate their choices, they're happy with them. Some, they regret their choices, but the choice is still yours to make.
You made the choice.
The issue that we have is that we feel that we are heavily scrutinized and that we're being prefected, by the powers that be it the formal structures, formal organizations, church institutions, and whatnot. But anybody can break free of those. Honestly speaking, if I belong to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, there's a particular church that I belong to. They would recommend and say, Lalela, if we think that for you to achieve this purpose that uNkulunkulu has set up for you, it would be great to have a partner, who fits a certain criteria.
Yeah.
The choice is mine. I can decide, you're second guessing my purpose. I'm not aligned with that purpose and go and find someone else. But at the end of the day, the exercise of choice, in as much as we call it choice, is limited to which side of the great controversy are you seated on.
Okay.
Because basically, one of my favorite authors is a lady called Ellen G. White. She writes about choice, and she says, "Make me willing to be made willing." Those are the words that she uses. Basically, you're saying, I've got the power to choose, but this brain of mine is capable of only choosing those things which will cause me to fall into a pit. There's a way that
the battle
seemeth right
between the brain and the heart.
There's a way that seemeth right unto a man,
And
but the
end
end
therefore,
thereof, and you get to that point that I've got the power to choose, but I am afraid of myself. I know how dangerous my choices can be. And then you almost like you are giving it over to uNkulunkulu, to then say,
choose for me.
My choice is that you choose for me.
All
So
right.
at the end of the day, it's still your choice. But my choice is that you choose for me. The problem comes in when you ask God to choose for you, but you know that your choice is not really for him to choose for you. So when you're looking that side, and then you're like, hey, Nkulunkulu, please choose for me. Ganti, Nkulunkulu is going to choose for you this side.
Or you choose and then you look for confirmation. Like, so I've chosen, so what do you think? All right. So I've chosen, so what do you think about
Or
this?
you choose while you're eyeing someone already.
Exactly,
You're like, God, but you're already
Yeah, and I think we should have that honest relationship with God. And the factors that come through it in terms of freedom of choice, everyone eventually must come to a point where they say, you married to Unkosi, that's your choice. That was you. Under no coercion or anything like that. You will get married, everyone will get married here, whatever the case could be. It is really... Right. It is really, honestly, at the end of the day, our choice. And to ask God, the concept of asking God through prayer and fasting and all that, I think when one is really looking for a partner, they really need to pray quite a lot. Yeah, because one of my biggest questions is, how careful can anyone be in choosing a partner? How careful can human beings are? They change. How careful can you be?
I think, because this is a very tricky subject, especially because it involves asking God. But I feel like in asking God, we really should be honest to ourselves about ourselves.
Right.
And I feel like that's exactly what Samson did. Because we can look at the fact that the marriage failed, Delilah led him astray, but they were good together. In fact, when you read the story, there's no mention of God being displeased with their union. There's no mention. We know that Samson was not supposed to drink wine. He wasn't supposed to cut his hair. But the man was honest. He wanted Delilah because she made him happy.
Okay.
And the parents kept asking, are you saying the church is here? They have afro. The skirts are perfect.
Dresses.
Everything is here. What are you saying? He's like, no, but she's the one.
She pleases me well.
And I also want us to be careful because we shouldn't paint an image to say things ended because she was from outside. Because things can go either way. You can still get this one here and things will still go.
Okay, but what's the recommendation then?
So,
what's the recommendation?
Be honest. Be true to yourself. What is it? It also goes back to what Ashley was saying. What is your purpose, number one? Number two, be honest. Be honest. Who are you? Are you marrying for the structure that you are a part of? Are you marrying because this is the one that I want? Because at the end of the day, there's no church that will sleep with your wife. There's no church that will stay with your wife in your house. You are the one who will take that lady home.
Your choice.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
But at the same time, I understand the concept of arranged marriages. Back in the day, marriage was used as a tool to keep nations powerful. It was a tool to succeed a certain tribe. It was a tool of power. So if you marry into a Zulu family and you're a Zulu, you are keeping the power.
The Zulu nation is stronger.
So when the church recommends you to marry within, it is a tool of power.
You're right. Yeah.
You are trying to maintain power because you're saying that what you hold is of God, and this is the doctrine of power that we are trying to align you with, so that what you create out of this is a power is a powerhouse. So the arranged concept comes to say, take that one because that one is aligned with the operation of our power. So this is why you'd find like kings and queens would travel wherever to marry, because it was more than love and feelings. It was more than how nice you make me feel. It was more than how beautiful you are, because the Bible even says beauty fades. So it was deeper than that. It was a tool of power maintenance. So this is why when Ellen White is saying pray about it, it's because you need to be in power to understand how to be in alignment with that. So this is why I'm saying umjolo is bigger than feelings, because feelings change. It's bigger than that. So the reason why the recommendation and the keep it in the church or whatever, they're still trying to maintain that. We are not kings and queens, you know what I mean? But we are a chosen generation.
I say that again.
A royal priesthood.
1 Peter chapter 2.
Because we are a royal priesthood, we need to align ourselves with priests within, which princes and kings, princesses and princes within. We need to align with that. So if you come outside of that, back in the day, they would even say you are tainting the royal blood. So
marrying a commoner.
Yeah, you're marrying a commoner.
I think that's still quite a common thing.
You are tainting the royal blood because marriage in itself is an institution that was ordained by God for them to be fruitful and multiply in godliness. Because when he said be fruitful and multiply, they were not fallen. When he gave that command, that command didn't come after they fell. Meaning that in itself, the marriage institution was meant to multiply godliness. It was meant to multiply in that power, basically. So all I'm saying is that when the church, which is the remnant church of God, puts recommendations, it is trying to keep power. Because marriage is bigger than love. It's bigger than choice. And this is why I like what you said, to say our choices are dangerous. Because if Eve, who was unfallen, chose against God himself, who are we who have fallen to trust ourselves to choose? Even the courses and the degrees we choose, we wake up the next day.
We don't want them.
So
it's a very difficult.
I have a question, though. Was marriage given to the church? Like, is marriage for the church or is marriage for people?
I think marriage is for people.
If marriage is for
but marriage is not a church institution.
It's not a church institution.
You're an advocate.
Yeah, but
it's a legal institution.
It is God initiated.
But infants can get married. Right?
But you know what I wanted to say? Melissa, it just blew my mind, because I'm actually thinking of it. If we go back to Isaac and Rebecca, at what point are we getting Isaac and Rebecca into the picture? Remember that you are living during an age whereby paganism is in the forefront, right? God goes and he picks up a pagan in the form of Abraham. And he says, through you, I'm going to build a nation.
Right?
And this is a nation that is going to polarize the entire earth, right? Starting with, we know what then happens, Isaac, and then, Jacob, and then Judah, and what's or not. What we today narrowly view as a Jewish thing was actually God's idea through Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and, and the offspring to polarize the entire earth. So when you look at marriage, and what Melissa is basically telling us is, God used marriage as a tool to populate. He brings Adam and Eve and he says, be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
Multiply what? Godliness. Multiply what? Good. Multiply. And these guys were unfallen. Unfortunately, because of sin, that plan becomes disturbed somewhere. And God wants to re-establish that. And he brings up Abraham and he says, through you, I'm going to build a nation that is going to be known. All pagans will bow down because of your seed that is going to worship me. And the biggest problem that God had with the children of Israel, throughout scripture, they kept on falling by mixing themselves with the other nations.
Yes.
And that was messing up with the whole idea that Unkulunkulu is saying, I want to use this new nation, unadulterated, to recreate. So basically we get to a point where there's great benefits out of marriage. I'm not married, but Melissa can tell us. There's great benefits, the feelings, the love, the conjugal rights and all of those type of things. But what Melissa is basically saying is that God's ideal goes beyond that. It goes beyond feelings. It goes beyond the loveliness. It's about setting up a kingdom. And when we affiliate with Unkulunkulu, then we must know that we are signing up to saying that we want to be part and parcel to this kingdom that you are building, and we don't want that to be corrupted. And as soon as you make that choice, then you must know that you are now restricting your own personal choice insofar as your feelings are concerned. Then your Delilah, Samson needed not, maybe it was a great marriage, but his purpose could have been greater achieved. Unkulunkulu still, by the way, we've got what is called the permissive will of God. God rectifies. Sometimes he's rectified when we've gone on our own way. The Bible says in certain times he winked, right? But that him winking, him rectifying, him allowing our, that permissive will to kick into place does not substitute the fact that he had a greater ideal for his children. And I like yellow bones.
but you see, for me, I think the argument for dating and marrying within the church, as we're speaking about the concept of love in the church, I think it's for practicality's sake. Marriage should be a very practical thing. I think no one can be a hypocrite in marriage for that long. You can't pretend for too long. For practicality's sake, married to an SDA, Seventh-day Adventist like me, so it helps because on Fridays we know what we do. We start to keep the Sabbath, right? We don't argue about where we're going. Are we going to watch a movie on Saturday? No, we're going to church, right? Certain things that can't be done. We won't consult the ancestors or anything like that. We don't do this. There's certain things that we don't do. For practicality's sake, the kids that come in, right? In a Samson Delilah situation, Samson this, Delilah that. Where do the kids go? Okay, do they go to church on Saturday? Do they go to church on Sunday? Do they go to church at all? So I think the merit for me is really on the practicality part of things, but not to say that a Samson Delilah doesn't work. Because it works. And I say this because we have that even within the church. Samsons and Delilahs. Then we've got Isaac and Rebecca marriages within the same tribe, right? Within the same church setting.
It creates problems within the church.
Exactly. So maybe we're saying minimize the problems. We're not saying eliminate them. Minimize the problems by marrying one in the church. But it doesn't mean that because it's outside the church, it's not going to work. There are marriages that have stood for years on end and very happy ones for people that are not within the church. Is it difficult? Maybe it is.
I disagree with you, Mtado. I think that practicality, it's for practicality, is downplaying the bigger idea.
Okay.
It's downplaying the bigger purpose, which Melissa was pointing out, that there is a kingdom that is being established. And God is intent on establishing that kingdom. And we must be aligned with that kingdom. We are royal priesthood. Let's not dilute the blood of royalty. Practicality just becomes something that's subsidiary to that.
Okay.
So it's an ancillary thing. So it comes with it. In the sense, if you align with the bigger idea, and you're going to get somebody that belongs to this bigger idea, and we're intentional that we're going to colonize the earth. We're going to take over. We're going to establish this kingdom. Isaiah chapter 9 and Isaiah 22 talk about the establishment of this kingdom. Once we say that we are intent about establishing this kingdom, the whole practicality thing just follows with it. So I think when we say that it's just for practicality purposes, we are taking what is subsidiary and we're making it holding.
Okay.
We're placing it on top and we're downplaying. And I'm saying, that cannot be.
Because it's the kingdom.
I don't think so. I think what comes first is what is the main thing. Unkulunkulu wants to establish this kingdom and we are part of that establishment. Then practicality just follows. Because the problem that you now have is you can come together for practicality purposes. But the question is, what input are you bringing to the establishment of the kingdom as a family unit? Because the establishment of a kingdom does not start with an organization. The church is the family unit. That family unit is what makes the different members that are seated within the church, which then creates the community. And that's how you establish a kingdom. And if the devil uses it so well in the secular world, to remain in power and to ensure that, it's not diluted and whatsoever, you can never go and date a Satanist, for instance, and decide, no, I'm going to remain faithful to God and belong to this kingdom of Satanists. It's just never going to work. So how is it that it works well in the secular world, but then when it comes to the Christian setup, we want to find certain compromises? It's just for practicality purposes. We're downplaying it. I don't think at all it's for practicality purposes.
I don't know. I feel like we are having this conversation up here because we are talking about the kingdom.
It's just a big words like the kingdom. The kingdom. What kingdom, guys? When did you submit to the kingdom? I have not a subscription. You have subscription for the kingdom.
I am shocked. This conversation is too high up there.
Bring it here.
This is what I want to understand. Because we are marrying for the kingdom. It's the kingdom. We are forming alliances. We are doing this and we are doing that. You bring me this man and then we're in this house because we both go to the same church. But what if I don't like him? What if
So it's not enough?
I feel like it's not enough. It's true that the kingdom, the principles and all of that. But what about me? What if the one who actually appeals to me or the one who pleases me well is not a part of this kingdom? Because at the end of, because I feel like we are not being honest about what we want. Because I feel like this is why our marriages will fail at the end of the day. We are too much in the kingdom. She must eat vegetarian patties. She must what? She must what? But when we are here, does she please me well? Because I feel like we're not, let's have it here. Let's have it here.
So, that's what someone was saying.
I totally understand, right?
The kingdom.
The reason why we're having it here is because we aspire there, right? That's the ideal.
But she pleases me well.
So
she loves yellow bones.
Yeah.
I love women who are built well.
Listen, we make
I hear
we
the
make
kingdom, but I love her.
We make it seem like godly people are ugly and undesirable. Do you understand? We make it seem like we're painting this picture. Because my problem is this, Uguti. We make it seem like God is gonna bring you this unattractive person you have no feelings for. Because God ufuna ukuthi kingdom, and when you don't have that subscription, and that's a wrong mentality altogether. Because that's a wrong.
Let me cut it.
No, honestly speaking, and another thing that we need to understand. There's laws that govern the universe. If you jump outside, whether you're a Christian or you're a Buddhist, you're going to fall down. Gravity holds for all of us.
Yeah.
There are no Adventists.
There's no preference.
Don't fly. If you jump, you will fall.
Yeah.
So what you need to understand is that there are certain tools that ensure successful marriages. This is why we find ungodly people who are successful in their marriages.
Big time, eh?
Because there are laws that govern certain things. You don't have to be a Christian to pass. You don't have to be a Christian to be successful. There are many successful people in business. There are many successful people at school who are not Christian.
Yeah.
They are applying laws that ensure that what they are doing is successful.
Yes.
They are studying, they are marketing, they are working hard. There are people who are not Christian who are married. They're good at communicating. They understand their principles. Sometimes you may think that Adventism is a big deal for me, that you go to church on Sabbath. It may not be a big deal for me. We can coexist because that is not my principle. It's not my biggest thing.
Yeah.
So we can work out because that is for us not the ultimate. We have other bigger things. So what you need to understand is that the fact that the world is succeeding does not mean that the church doesn't have that. And it doesn't mean that they shouldn't succeed because they are not Adventists. And then they shouldn't succeed because they are not godly. Because laws, the ground is level. If you don't study as an Adventist,
you will fail. Yeah.
So what you need to understand is that it's work. Human relationships are work.
Exactly.
Whether it's your mother or your father or your brother or your friend. Friendships need communication. So if you're not communicating, you're probably going to lose me as a friend. So what you need to understand is that we are not saying the kingdom is what is going to bring this interaction and the communication, and the kingdom is what you must eat now. Manbonana kingdom. You're not asking how are you feeling today, or uvugenjani. You understand? How are you? Greetings.
Yeah.
You understand?
Sister, bless you.
All of a
Bless
sudden,
you,
you are heavenly useful and earthly useless.
Exactly.
You understand? It's not what it means, because Jesus himself was highly emotional, like emotional intelligence.
And I think, Minister, you know what the problem is there? Sorry to cut you off. The problem is the church doesn't emphasize that.
Well,
The church emphasizes the kingdom. The practicality of things is not there. You know what? I'm a church guy. Let's say I've got a low position, right? I'm a church guy. I'm a low position. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I think I got a shot with a CEO. I'm one of the lowest positions. Like, I got a shot with the CEO based on what? You say church. So church gives me the confidence to approach. So the baptismal certificate says we are at par.
Yeah.
Right? I think the only part where we're at par is salvation-based. Anything else we must have criteria. I'm telling you, a guy would approach you. We've got guys with audacity for days.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that now. What you mean? What you mean? And that's not enough. It must far transcend that. And I think it is the purpose of the church, while we're speaking of love in the church, it is the purpose of the church to actually bring these things in to say, okay, what does Umthandazo want? Umthandazo wants a woman like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I need this and that and that. Can I please have my God-fearing Cardi B looking like kind of girl? Okay?
Yeah, no, that's...
Is that fine for us? Is that fine for the kingdom?
You know what you're saying?
The moment you say, I want my Cardi B that is God-fearing, I know you right.
That's all.
And Nkulunkulu must give us those Cardi Bs that are God-fearing. Let the ladies get their hunks that are God-fearing.
Yes, let them let the hottest guys get God-fearing.
That will lead
Even if
them.
they're out.
No, they mustn't be out. That must lead you to they must lead you to the Lord. They must walk with you to this journey. They must be able to achieve the greater purpose with you.
Okay.
The issue that we have with young people in 2024 is that we want to preach exceptions for a rule. And that's a problem. Look at stats. You don't need to look at Seventh-day Adventist numbers. Just even outwardly, stats dictate that where two people are not aligned. As the Bible says, how can two walk together except they're in agreement? The end is often, predictable. We know what the end is going to look like. There are, however, exceptions, which we have seen even within the Adventist faith, where we see it working amazingly. This guy becomes an SDA, he becomes an elder, he evangelizes, and we get like thousands of people coming and joining the faith. He will probably enter into the kingdom as a Seventh-day Adventist together with his wife. That's an exception. Mm-hmm. We should never preach exceptions for a rule, though.
Okay.
The rule must remain in the forefront.
Right.
The recommendations must remain in the forefront. Uh-huh. We take cognizance of exceptions as and when they arise.
Right.
But let's not change, the structure of our teachings to say, as we preach about the rules, let's also have a little segment on exceptions. No, the exceptions must just fall as and when they come, but we concentrate on the rules. Because just ordinarily, anywhere where you go, the rule is there to give, guidance, to give certain protective measures, and to ensure that, we don't go astray. And sometimes it's not always that those that follow the rules will always be 100%, but the greater majority. And that's where we find the safety net.
Okay, may I?
Yeah.
He mentioned stats, and he said he will not go on to SDA stats. And allow me, I do not have the figures, but we are seeing divorce in the church.
Yes.
People married in the church are also divorcing. And it's really making us question. Because the reason why we're also having this conversation is because there's this fakeness to it. Because I have a question. If we remove church from the relationship that we have, then what? Which is the reason why people actually want to go out, because you realize that, no, man, apart from church, if you just take out church, there's nothing much to this.
Yeah.
If you and your husband don't have to go to church on Saturday, can you really stay with this man and still have proper conversations? Which is why Mta was making an example that a baptismal certificate makes you think you can approach anyone because we're in the same church.
Yes.
But if we remove church, then what? Is church the only thing that informs the fact that you can actually come and try to have a conversation with me?
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. But that's what is always propelled all the time.
But here's the
church.
I feel like we blame the church a lot. 6 out of 7 days you're out of church.
Yeah.
Which is why you need
where
one
else
couch.
are you?
But can I-
if
But
you
you
make
spend most of your time
No.
out. You need the one
But
couch.
no,
True.
no, let me just finish my
Hey,
thoughts.
she said,
Can I just finish my thoughts?
all right,
Nate?
yeah, go ahead.
I'm not even trying to paint a perfect picture here. But what I'm saying is, I want us to run away from blaming the church from our poor decision making and our poor life choices. Because you spend 1 day out of 7 days in church. And the 6 other days, God himself worked for 6 days. He created, he spoke things that were beautiful for 6 days.
Nazo?
When you wait for the church to tell you who to marry, how to handle your family, the church has a core business. Every organization has its core.
Core business.
It would be so scary for the church to be able to teach you finances, health. It would be ideal, but remember the church is trying to get you to heaven more than anything. So it is unfair. Even hospitals specialize. Even schools specialize. So it's very unfair to expect the church. You blame the church because of your finances, because of your marriage, because of your health, because of everything. It is unfair because 6 days of the week, where are you feeding yourself? Because when you go to church, you are renewing. Keeping the Sabbath doesn't start on the 7th day. For you to say, I'm keeping the Sabbath, you are resting from what? What are you resting from?
where you are.
Because your mind was an empty head throughout the time.
I
You
love
know what I mean?
she's saying.
So that is why you now meet someone with a master guide trying to approach a CEO who in the 6 days is doing something.
Someone with a master card trying
Yeah.
to approach a CEO over
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, with the
you're only coming on Saturday to fill in that MasterCard cup, which is perfect. But 6 days of the week, is that MasterCard useful in the world?
But-
are you actually useful?
But our church is
I love what she's
you know what? I think our church is heavily involved in our lives 6 days away from
I
it.
agree.
Our church is heavily
No,
involved
I
in our lives.
don't think so. No,
Listen,
that's
we
unfair.
have programs.
You guys are going to a
We have
different
Yeah,
church.
programs.
maybe you guys in the church
Yeah,
have
you're not
blamed
going to
it.
do
No,
that.
because
Here's
not
the thing.
true.
Here's the thing.
She mentioned hospitals and schools specializing. And the fact that the church is here trying to get me to heaven.
Yeah.
Why can't I just get my dude? Because I'm going to spend 6 days with him, then I'll come and show up.
No, what I'm saying is it is very dangerous to forsake your responsibility of being to the church, which you go to once a week.
Okay.
For the 7 days. It's even a relationship, shame, it won't work out. If we see each other once a week,
Yeah, it won't
and
work.
that is the thing that maintains, it won't work.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that as Christians, let us fill our cups because there are many resources out there. Yeah. There are people who are not Adventists that write books on marriages that have successfully
Yes,
worked.
very
There
much
are people
so.
that write about how to effectively work. And you need to understand that all those people are God's people. And that's godliness doesn't only come from Sabbathers. They are God-inspired people who designed medicine and technology that makes life easy. All of that is godly. So when you make the mistake of thinking that I need to wait for 6 days, I don't know what to do with myself, and you're not investing in trying to understand, who am I? Am I okay? Do I have traumas I need to deal with? Do I have to see a therapist, for example? Which is something that most churches cannot afford to provide you, by the way. And it is unfair for you to expect that there must be a therapist at church to deal with that for you. The church can only do so much in 1 day of your week. So it is unfair for me to, whenever I hear people like, the church didn't teach me that. The church, but what are you doing?
But you know what? I think maybe you guys may not get. I think we're aligning with the same idea. What I'm saying. I'm saying we are members of the church. We love the church. We're in it. We have a podcast right now. It's from the church, and it's. But we're saying at the same time, can we have the options given to us in the same manner and energy that religion is given? To say, okay, look for a religious wife. Number one, is that fine? Yes. Look for what you want as well in that religious wife. Right? That's number two. No, but
Yeah,
you
that's
will
what I'm also
find
trying
so
to
many
understand.
people that just married because they were SDAs, and I want to align with that. To say if we were to meet outside
But
the
that's
church,
also foolishness
if we were to
for
meet
me.
outside the
Yeah.
church, you wouldn't give that person a
You
second
can't
look.
blame the church because you are foolish.
That is not.
So
No, guys. But while that is true, I don't think we should underestimate the power of the fact that the church has a real big influence on decision making. It's not exempt. We just don't go to the church for vibes.
Probably using your nice relationship.
Yes, we don't go to the church for vibes. You know, the church has a really huge
can I say
influence
something?
on our relationships and our choices of our
There are a
partner.
lot of people
Who
are afraid
is
of
the
dating
church?
outside
Who is the church?
Because of the
Because
church.
of the church.
Who is the
The
church?
Seventh-day Adventist.
No, who is the church?
The church.
Who makes up the church?
Us.
The church
So-
alone
And
is
it's teaching.
So basically, we are not talking to a structure, because I think when we keep mentioning it, we're mentioning it as a structure somewhere in the sky that brings out a list of rules and says, "Come here, my children, let's do this." It is not a structure. The church is me and you.
Yeah.
You need to initiate change. If you see a gap in your church, if you feel the need to educate people on emotional intelligence and how they can better improve their choices, no one is stopping you.
Thank
Can I-
you.
Melissa, can I
Thank
just
you. Then
qualify
I think to everyone listening to this,
Yeah.
So she
let's go
actually
for
means
it.
You can go for it.
Let's go for it.
Can I
No.
qualify? Can I
What I'm trying to
qualify?
say is that, for example, 230 is a movement of change
Right?
in itself. We're trying to have these conversations.
Yes.
We're trying to have extra stuff
Yeah.
that maybe we don't find in a typical church.
Yeah.
This is a movement of change. And we're encouraging more young people to say, if God is showing you something in your life that is valuable for
Nazo.
young people, whether it be in finance or education or love, if you're thriving in your marriage and you have some nuggets to share, open platforms. Involve your church people, because the church is us at the end of the day. Because we keep talking about the church as if there is someone sitting up there with a list of things we must all do, and then we just all blindly fall into it, which is not the case.
And just to add, Elisa, and I completely agree with what you've shared. If what we are calling for is positive change, right? God has been on various occasions misrepresented. There are certain misconceptions that people are holding. I mean, for instance, to just think that, when you give your will over to God, that means that you cannot get a curvy wife.
Yeah,
that means that you cannot get a yellow wife. Yeah. There is absolutely nothing in the Word of God that suggests that.
Yeah.
That God wants us to be happy. The fact that we are aligning with wanting to be in the kingdom and have eternal life and have this great relationship with our God does not mean that we must be subjected to temporary misery for the time being that we are on earth. What we are saying is, we are not encouraging young people to come and stand and be in the forefront and say, you can go and sleep around. You can go and get a prostitute out there. You can get... No. We are saying that God makes provision for holy happiness. You can be happy. You can literally get what you want, the type of woman that you want. There is a God-fearing woman that looks the way that you want them to look.
Yes.
There is a God-fearing man with 6 packs. There's a God-fearing man, who does hiking, gymming, and all of these other things.
An intelligent guy, a funny guy.
The misconception that you've had is that we have been told that a God-fearing man, at least culturally, and God has absolutely nothing to do with that. Not even the church in its fundamental beliefs or in its teachings. Our cultures, and this differs geographically and where you're coming from. Absolutely. We've been told that the perfect husband, during the week, he sells church books. That's all he does. The church, the perfect husband only makes enough money to sustain the family's needs and to give tithe and help a neighbor in need. The money must not be more than that.
We even have rules for... You find this in church settings where there's rules for even how much of sex you can have in a week.
Yeah.
And what to do in it. Like, Haibo, how did you get into my bedroom to detect what I can do and what I cannot do? How did you determine that this is wrong and this is right? Haibo.
The problem that Jesus had, Jesus was a revolutionary.
Yes.
He did not change the fundamentals. He did not change the law of God. He did not change the character of God. What he came to change and what he took great issue with was the tradition of man being preached as the character of God. That is what this movement seeks to change.
Yes.
That let's get rid of the traditions of man. But in getting rid of the traditions of man, we're not asking that we now reintroduce. We're not saying get rid of all traditions of man and introduce postmodern traditions of man. Because then that creates a problem altogether. You are merely substituting.
Right.
We're not going back to what God's ideal is.
Yeah.
So let's just keep that in mind, even as young people, as we seek to make a change change and we pick up these different traditions that do not have any biblical foundation within the church and we try to eradicate them. Let's not eradicate them by replacing them with our own, new type of traditions, which are also going to be challenged, later on by another movement and have nothing to do with God.
Yeah.
I like what he said earlier when he spoke about purpose, and somehow it's reminding me of purpose and being in the family. Somehow it's actually reminding me of Hosea.
Hosea and Gomer. Oh.
It's reminding me of that because he spoke about purpose. You have a purpose and you must align with your purpose. And here is a prophet, a man who loves God, and he was probably checking out for vegetarian patties and stuff. And God said, no, you're going straight to the tavern. That's where your wife is.
Yeah,
and I'm mentioning this because we are different as we're sitting here. Your purpose is not my purpose. And her purpose is not his purpose. He's found a yellow bone proper. But what if yours is actually outside?
Yeah, it could be. It actually could be. When God speaks to me, it could be like, go get someone the evangelism by dating.
You guys are literally misinterpreting Gomer. Because it was the exact opposite of... Because God was basically through Gomer and Hosea showing what these guys... They were going outside. They were busy sleeping.
And it's a real story.
It's
not a metaphor.
But what is God saying
I
there?
hear you. God is saying...
God was actually
through this
showing...
illustration, I want
same
to...
with you.
God was actually...
wishing God
through
can
the story, God was actually...
thing. Use me, Lord.
God was actually using the story to try to get us to see how wayward the church is, and he's still like this. Because Hosea was a complaining prophet. Hosea was complaining.
But the way you're saying it, is like you want to be that example for God.
No.
Like, take me, Lord. I really want to illustrate.
I think
is that example valid? What if someone is?
Okay, guys. I think we're driving to the end of our conversation anyway. I think one of the things is I think we don't celebrate beautiful marriages in our church enough. You know, I feel we have more bad examples than the good ones. And maybe like almost everything in life, bad things overcome the good, right? We have couples in the church, wonderful people that have been married for years on end. And one of their biggest, strongest points is that their faith has kept them together. Through the hard times, the trying times, loss maybe of children, loss of employment, marriage troubles as it should, faith in God has really, really kept them together. I think these are the people that should be taking center stage. That's the people that we should be listening to in the church. People that should be going out there to say, guys, listen, in all honesty, it was not easy to be with this woman for 25 years. Outside the euphoria of love and blah, 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 let people be honest about marriage. Love in the church, to say, you know what, this is not easy. Sometimes you come to church and you guys are not even talking to each other. And you're supposed to be preaching that day or presenting on patience and forgiveness. And your wife is watching you up there talking about patience and forgiveness and stuff like that. And you did not even ask for forgiveness yesterday for the thing that you did to her. So I think that practicality thing, that thing that we've got people that have something good to say it.
But the problem is positivity is not given enough platform. Because you could just be posting your person and someone is thinking, it will end in tears. So you could go out there and say, listen, I'm happily married. My husband makes me the happiest. Next thing, Sebeng Loy. I understand. Exactly. Or they say they want to experience the same thing.
They want him.
Or they now want to give him the things that I'm saying. So there isn't. People become shy to expose goodness.
Yes.
The loud mouths are the ones that want to bash, like, I'm Jolo, Vele, we knew it was going to end. You know what I mean? You can't even post your person in peace because you're thinking, look, the guy is not smiling a lot. I'm sure, okay, or the girl is not smiling a lot. I'm sure you look for negativity, like, I'm sure Vele bayenzela thina. Do you understand? And yet there are some people who are living nice in their marriage.
Yes, very so.
Very nice. And we can't come out there and say that. Because at the same time, they can be like, for some of us who just got married, they're like, wait and see.
Wait and see. When are you done?
You try honeymoon.
Give it 5 years.
But right now, already you're looking at it with eyes of doom and gloom. Yeah. Because doom and gloom is so loud. And it's so tough for goodness to be bold. And this is why the road is narrow. This is why there is a remnant. Because doom and gloom always overcomes good.
It's got the largest microphone available.
It has the largest microphone. adultery is glorified.
Yeah.
If you're an honest guy, it's even tough to make friends if you're a loyal guy.
Yes.
Because you are udlisiwe.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, you know what I mean?
Right,
Dog,
boom.
do you understand? So even spaces that are positive are so rare to find. So this is why I'm saying that those who are married,
Please.
Keep at it.
Show us more.
Find goodness and dwell in it.
Yeah. Melissa and Seth.
No, no, I'm just saying find goodness and dwell in it. And because exactly. Everyone's just like, it's just, So I'm also like, hey, let me not talk too soon to get it. But at the same time, you're thinking, yeah, but I think I have a story here that could help. That could
for
help
me,
someone.
I think, and in line with that, the success of a relationship, for me, is the relationship itself.
Okay.
This is it. As to what's going to happen tomorrow, I have zero control. All I know today is that I'm waking up to my wife. Tomorrow, I don't know that. So the success of a relationship is the now.
Absolutely.
It's it. So I need to be present in it because this is all that I have and all that I know. Tomorrow, I don't know if my wife, 15 years later, she won't feel the same way that I feel, that I feel. Or I will feel the same way that I feel now. I don't know what's going to happen next time. I really, honestly do not know.
You only know now.
I only know the now. And so therefore, at any particular point, the celebration cannot be future-based. It cannot be, I want to know if you're going to be here till death do us apart. While we make those vows, people can break those vows anytime. What is successful is, do I have a wife? Do I have a husband? Am I in a relationship with my girlfriend? And did we smile at each other today? Were we happy? Did we hug? Did we kiss? Yes, we did. And does that amount to the happiness for the day? Yes. Give us today our daily bread. Tomorrow, spread, I don't know. All I want is, because I have the today, I'll live for the today. And I think that's what we should honestly try and strive for at everything. The status quo, as we finish up, the status quo in our church is there's a lot of negativity when it comes to dating within the church. People are finding partners outside. People are going to look for other people outside. Would it not be nice to look for people inside? Definitely it would be. And maybe that's the encouragement that we should have all the time. And have examples of these good marriages and have love in the church as something that is fashionable. Let people post their pictures going overseas, their children, their happiness. Now I don't look at it from the perspective of jealous, from the perspective of goodness, of he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And then the Bible says, and obtains favor from the Lord. I don't know, maybe you can give your parting shots on this issue of love in the church. And I think to all the viewers there, you can always leave your comments on our comment section. They were very excited to read what you guys are thinking about in the issues to do with love in the church. Our first ever podcast, eh?
Yeah.
We're all very cheated when we started off this, eh? But I think the all issues are. Maybe just give our parting shots into all of this. Let's start with Ash. What do you think?
Yeah, no, thanks, guys. Amazing conversation. Look, guys, we need to love. We need to be loved. Let's maintain a positive attitude. And as young people, let's always remember that we owe, our allegiance to the Lord. So even our relationships, they're going to have a huge influence on our salvation, which Luke says that we should work for with fear and with trembling. So I pray that Unkulunkulu blesses us with the right partners. Let's remain extremely prayerful and on our knees. And pray that Unkulunkulu gives us. For those that are already in relationships, whatever the challenges may be, keep praying, let God come through. Whether it was a relationship that you found in church or you went outside, God is still bigger than, any challenges that we might go through. And he surely can come through for us.
Thank you.
I would say, I agree with everything that Aisha has said. Amazing. And I would say, if you are to approach someone and be in a relationship with the person, make sure that you actually like the person. And I'm saying this because we are sitting here also because we have a dark or a dirty image of relationships in the church because of some of the things that are done by the very people in the church and in relationships. So I would say make sure that you like the person that you're with so much that even if we remove the church from it, if we give you just 3 months with your person and there's no church, you are still able to look at this person and be like, I love you because you are fearfully and wonderfully made and I love you. So that even if whatever the church's issues and whatever, if you remove that, you should still be able to be with your person. So make sure that you really like the person and be honest to yourself about what is it that you want? What do you prefer? And what actually informs those preferences that you have. Be honest. Don't marry for people. Don't date for the church. Don't date for people, but for you, because you are going to live with that person 24/7.
Yeah, a marriage is not a church board.
It's not a church board.
It's not a church board. It's yours. I would say, for me, I think relationships are hard work, like a lot of hard work. Put in the effort. You know, there's only 2 women who wrote the Bible. I love this one here. It's Esther and Ruth. Just 2. And both of them approached men.
Go-getters.
Go-getters. Boaz was like Naomi says to Ruth, like, listen, go to his room. Go sit next on his bed. When he comes in, he will know what to do. Read the book, read the Bible, Ruth chapter 4, I think, right? He will know what to do. Mordecai says to Esther, as in, there's a vacancy there. Yeah. The wife who Vashti doesn't want. Bros on fleek, girl. Make up. As in, Amazipo, girl. Look hot. So when he chooses you. They approached. Take initiative. And I'm speaking to this to our women in the church. Take initiative, Bazalwan. Take initiative. Our church sometimes makes our ladies sit and wait for a knight in shining armor. We are not coming for you. We are not coming for you. Ruth to Boaz, Esther to the king. That's how you continue with the kingdom. Melissa, give us your last shot. She got it. And she got the kingdom and saved a whole entire Jewish nation because she went to approach a man, bros on flick. But she looked the part.
And she went out.
Yeah.
She went out of the people.
Be an Esther of today, be a Ruth. Out of the people. She didn't marry an Israeli.
How was he going to marry a relationship? How?
So I'm not gonna give you recommendations on how to get to love or how to get in a relationship. You know, the best way you are moved. If you are Ruth, be Ruth. If you are not Ruth, don't be Ruth.
Melissa,
all I can say,
no one's coming for them.
All I can say is that love requires work. Any love, between mom, between brother, sister, even God himself. When we love him, we work out our salvation because we want to be in close proximity with him. So it is very foolish to think that simply because you agree on a doctrine, that it should sustain or give you a successful union. You still have to work out your tone on how you communicate. Yes. You still have to work out your expectations. You still have to work out your futures, and you still have to be earthly useful. So you need to understand that as much as the center of it all is establishing a godly kingdom, and that is what you put as a fundamental value system when you get into this. What you need to understand is that there is still work that is required. 6 days of the week, thou shalt work on loving your wife.
Yes.
So that when you go to church on Sabbath, you can really keep it holy because you are happy together and you are smiling at each other. So I think let us not be lazy lovers. Put in the work. Learn your partner's love language. Put in the work. You know, get those flowers if it needs to be. Call if you need to. Try and understand where is this person, because in isolation of all those things, it's not going to work out. And just because we are Adventists and we have the privilege of knowing these truths and we can choose each other based on these truths, it doesn't guarantee a successful union because it goes beyond that. Love requires work. That's what I can say. That work for that love.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone here who came through. Brother Uzwelu, Ashley, Sister Type Sang, myself, Umtandazo Kolani, Mr. X, and also Melissa Nkosi, the only married person here. So what she says she has experience in. So listen up. Thank you so much, and hope to hear your comments right there. This podcast is for everyone, Christian and non-Christian. These particular issues affect everyone, regardless of whether they go to church or they don't go to church. At the end of the day, we're all human. That's where we start from. Before we are Seventh-day Adventist, before we're Methodist, before we are Anglican, before we are Pentecostal or whatever, we are human. And we have the basic need, as we said in the beginning, from the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, it is not good that a man or a woman should be alone. But again, we talked about why it's important to have a criteria of choice choice, and religion is one of the very biggest things that come through as well. Apart from that, communication, finances, and all that. Let's try and keep it in. Do not forget to pray. Don't forget to pray for the partner that you have. God has eyes that we don't have. He can see what we do not see. He knows far beyond the person's physical appearance, the person's smile, the person's character, way beyond that. So he will choose for you. So allow God to lead you in any particular point. So thank you so much to our first guest. And we appreciate. We'll see you guys soon on our next podcast. It's 2:30 Speak. Bye to the people.
Bye.
Bye, people. Yes.